Hello everyone, it's Daily Space Observations and welcome back to another video. And before we get into the topic of today, I just want to say don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on that notification bell so that you won't miss any of my latest videos. And if you haven't already, then you can go follow me on my Instagram. And if you really like this video, please don't be shy to share it with your friends. Now with that said, let's just jump into it. So recently it was Apollo 11's 50th anniversary, and I thought in honor of that, I would do a news article review on something not necessarily related to Apollo 11, but something that is about NASA returning to the moon in soon, hopefully, and making their next move. So here we go. So our first article of the day is NASA's latest bid to return to the moon by 2024 may be a bit unrealistic, experts say. NASA bumped up its planned moon mission from 2028 to 2024, but it's a tight deadline. Now at first glance at this article, you might think, nah, NASA's gonna stick to their word and go and return to the moon by 2024. But once you read into it more, you're gonna find some pretty solid evidence that that might not be the case and from past occurrences. And so will this convince you 100%? Maybe not. It convinced me. It has some pretty solid evidence. So let's just read into it. On December 14th, 1972, NASA astronaut Eugene Cernan lifted his foot from the dusty lunar surface one final time. For nearly 47 years, that footprint has remained untouched, unweathered by wind or rain, or humans. But if you believe NASA's recent announcement, in 5 years, the next man and first woman will be visiting the moon as part of the Artemis program. And this time, NASA said, there will be permanent human presence. However, some are questioning whether this plan is realistic, and with good reason. It took a mere 8 years from US President John F. Kennedy's 1961 declaration to send humans to the moon by the end of the decade to the July 20th, 1969 lunar landing. So that alone can even postpone this. So this took 8 years after John F. Kennedy's declaration. So if we take that into account, then in reality, people might not go to the moon until 2027 because it's been 8 years. I mean, this could not be the case. This could either be longer or shorter possibly. But if this happened, then I think there's a good chance it's gonna probably last for the same time. NASA has been talking about a return for almost 2 decades, with plans and programs like Constellation being cut or serious delays, as with its next generation heavy lift rocket, the Space Launch System. But over the past decade, there's been a lot more forward movement in getting back to the moon and beyond to Mars. So that's another thing as well. I'm going to talk about both of those statements. First, NASA's been talking about returning to the moon before I was even born. In earlier years, that's never happened. And not only that, even if it will happen, there could be another delay, or it could even be cut. For example, what if one of the scheduled astronauts dies, or maybe a relative of theirs dies? What if something happens and the rocket explodes? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of possibilities of this being delayed or even just flat out being canceled. And also, there is a lot more hype about going to Mars. Why? The answer is simple. We've never been there. We've gone to the moon a few times already. So what's the point of returning there if we could go to a place we've never been to before? Logic. Directives. In the early 2000s, NASA talked about returning to the moon by 2020 using a new crewed spacecraft as part of the Constellation program. This would also include the Orion multi-purpose crew vehicle. But in 2011, US President Barack Obama concluded that a crewed mission to the moon or Mars was beyond NASA's budget. constellation was modified and NASA was to provide a new SLS, with Orion still moving onwards. So that's another thing, their budget. Now NASA does have a relatively low budget. I think it's somewhere over 10 billion, which may sound like a lot, but when you take into account the rockets, the parts, the launch pad, the launch site, the spacesuits, everything that you need to bring and use, it's a lot of money, billions of dollars. So there may be a chance that at the end of the day, NASA won't be willing to spend that much money going back to a place we already know quite a bit about. And another thing, the presidents, they might decide to postpone it, like when Barack Obama called it off. That could happen again and again. It's happened. So like with Donald Trump, if he leaves and a new president comes in, then that president may want to postpone it to a later date or just cancel it. So I think that will do it for this article. There is a lot more to read about it. I've only read about a quarter, because if I were to read the whole thing, I'd be sitting here all day, which you wouldn't want to watch. So a link to this article will be in the description, so if you want, you can read the whole thing. Now let's move on to the next article, shall we? Our next article is Hubble telescope spots a black hole that shouldn't exist. This one definitely sounds interesting. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope has detected a supermassive black hole that defies existing theories about the universe, a news report has revealed. The black hole is approximately 250 million times heavier than the Sun, and it's found at the center of the spiral galaxy NGC 3147 and is some 140 million light years from Earth. Around the black hole, scientists notice an accretion disk. I hope I pronounced that right, which is debris and gas that is moving around the edge. This is unexpected based on current theories surrounding black holes. Such a disk should not exist so close to a black hole. We thought this was the best candidate to confirm that below certain luminosities, the accretion disk doesn't exist anymore, explained Ari Layer of the Technion Israel Institute of Technology located in Haifa, Israel. Geez, there are a lot of hard to pronounce words. What we saw was something completely unexpected. We found gas in motion, producing features we can explain only as being produced by material rotating in a thin disk very close to the black hole. The report was published in the journal Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, and lead author of Stefano Bianchi said, "The same type of disk we see in objects that are 1,000 or even 100,000 times more luminous." He went on to say, "The prediction of current models for gas dynamics in very faint active galaxies clearly failed. The report says, will give scientists the opportunity to test Albert Einstein's theories of relativity." So again, this article is really huge. I've only read like a tenth of it, so again, it will be linked in the description. But so I see a lot of articles like this on scientists finding these universal phenomenons in space that shouldn't be possible, and well, I think that they should really just stop saying what's possible and what is possible. Why? Because it's the freaking universe. It doesn't have to make sense. Nothing in the laws of physics or black holes, it doesn't have to make sense. Anything can happen in this huge universe. So you should really just, instead of predicting it, find out more information first, and then you say your information and what you think. And don't just make assumptions of this is impossible, because you don't know. Alright, so yeah, that will do it for this article. This was a pretty short one, but I mean, it's really just it's not a really big thing, and there's not much to it apart from they found a black hole that shouldn't exist. So yeah. So that will do it for our second episode of Space News. So sorry it's been a really long time since I posted an episode of Space News. It's been around for a while, and I only have 2 now, this being the second one. But there hasn't been that much like huge news in space I can cover, and I did this because of Apollo 11's 50th anniversary. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on that notification bell. And if you don't mind, if you really like this, then you can share it with your friends. I'd appreciate it. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye.